Hello, good morning, good evening, good day, good afternoon, and aloha. Welcome back to another episode of the Unidentified Celebrity Review, your home for credible news, reviews, and commentary on everything UAP and UFO. I am your host and creator of this show, Luis Jimenez. Welcome to a live stream edition, which every show, we live stream every show. Today we're on KGRADB.com. So if you're listening out there on the radio waves, hello, thank you for being here. We'll be taking some calls today with our guest, Christopher Plain. So if you guys got any questions for head science writer at the Debrief.org, get them ready because we'll have open lines here in a little bit. But before we get to that, of course, got to pay some bills quickly, as quickly as I can. Want to say thank you to DOS Tapes. They provide all the tunes. Thank you. Thank you guys. Thank you, DOS Tapes. Thank you, Kevin. They're so close to finishing their new record. I can't wait to hear it. It's going to be awesome. Their Bandcamp link is in the description below. This show will be available on iTunes, Spotify, wherever you find your podcasts. Leave us a rate and review. Helps go a long way to make sure the show continues to grow in the podcast world. Patreon members, super chatters, YouTube membership members out there, thank you all so damn much for donating your hard-earned dollars, your cashola, to our show. Every dollar counts. We are a public access channel. We're supported by viewers like you. So if you can support like that, awesome. All those links are down below. Super chat buttons is right there. But if you can't, don't sweat it. Not a single one of our episodes is behind a paywall. You can access them whenever you want. And also, we've got a link to Discord. Sometimes folks charge for the Discord too. No, not here. Our Discord's free. So go check it out. We're going to be having a discussion there after the show, I think, anyway. Rather, you doing Friday Discord chat? Just give me the thumbs up. All right, so we'll be there after the show. So if you guys want to ask us questions or yell at us or whatever, come hang out on the Discord. With that said, let's bring on our co-host, shall we? Mr. Rather Be Squidding. What's shaking, buddy?
Hey, Lou. Not too much. Last show before a little hiatus.
Yeah, we're taking a break. Woo, man, I need a break. It's been a year and it's been 2 years. I think it's time.
This topic always finds a way to bring you back in. So
it always
see
does.
How the 2 to 3 week break actually holds up.
Here's what's gonna happen. A huge news is gonna break. So we're gonna have to come back for at least one episode. I just know it will.
Yeah, you can thank us for taking a break to make that news happen.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, I have a feeling it'll probably end up being 2 weeks instead of 3, just because I can't stay away. Can't stay away. It's too much fun. Well, you didn't get to pop out your video yet, did you? I was looking for
it's a little too close to April Fool's Day, I think, to release a serious video about nuking a tunnel to the center of the moon. So I'm probably going to release that tomorrow.
Embarrassingly, I fell for a few April Fool's jokes today. I fell for Ryan Sprague's. I fell for Stephen Greenstreet's. I almost fell for John Greenwald's.
I fell for John Greenwald's. That's the only one that got me.
Oh my god! Yeah, because but once I saw, I was like, "There's no way. There's no way." But yeah, I got fooled a lot today. But yeah, happy April Fool's Day, everybody out there. I'm not that kind of show. I hate April Fool's Day jokes.
Yeah, worst day of the year.
worst. Good call. I agree. Concur. 100%. April Fool's Day is the worst day of the year. Well, should we bring in our friend?
Yeah, let's
do it. So speaking of April Fools, this guy's not a fool. He's actually a really smart dude. He's incredibly funny, stand-up comic, author, writer and again, head science writer at the Debrief.org, Mr. Michael Mataluni, aka
That's
the Quitter,
right.
aka Mr. Christopher Plain.
It's me. You don't know how much. A lot of people don't. They say, Mataluni, why'd you quit the show? And I said to do clinical trials on hair growth. So see, it worked.
It
Look
works.
at all of that. So remember how bald I was?
It
Looking
seems
good.
Obviously, the side effect is weight gain. I'd rather be fat and have hair than,
You beat me to it. I was like, what are the side effects of this wonder drug? This wonder hair growing drug? Listen, I mean, kettle calling the pot black. Who the hell am I? Who the hell am I? Dude, it's good to see your face. It's been too long.
Yeah, it has been a minute, guys. I appreciate you having me on. When I was getting ready to reach out to you and lock something in, and I was dancing some news around on Twitter the other day, and Luis said, "Hey, if you got a minute, I'd love to have you come on and talk about what's doing." So I appreciate you throwing the invite out there, my man.
Hey, man, no worries.
Always a pleasure.
It's always a pleasure.
It's not like Ryan Sprague where I got to invite myself on, and then he tells me how great I am. Dude, you're so awesome playing, man. You're just the best. I'm like, I just want to invite myself on, though.
Ryan is the man. I will never say a bad word.
I really did.
Gotta love Ryan.
Although today, I absolutely hated him.
Yeah, so tell me real quick before we get your Luis. I want to hear the jokes you felt through.
Okay, so I feel terrible, and in this next 2 to 3 weeks, I'm going to get this done. But Sprague sent me a script that he's been working on, and he's like, dude, there's no rush on this, and it's a hefty few pages, but every time I go do it, something happens or comes up, and it's hard for me to put time aside. I got the script right here, and I feel like such an idiot. I should have sent it months ago. He sent this to me, I think, in February, maybe even earlier, and so he put a post out today saying that Olivia Munn and Rami Malek had just been signed on to do an episodic version of his book, Somewhere in the Skies. And it immediately sounded plausible to me. I was like, oh my God, Ryan sold the rights to his book. That's freaking awesome. I could totally see how they can make that into a series. That'd be great. And then I started thinking of Rami Malek, and I'm like, I have a story about Rami Malek. He stole a part from me that I was given on a Tom Hanks so I auditioned for Tom Hanks.
You're the original Mr. Robot?
No, I'm not the original Mr. Robot. So Tom Hanks was directing a film that was written by Neil.
He was going to play Freddie Mercury.
Yes,
Freddie Mercury.
I was going to play Freddie Mercury. And I was also going to be doing Night at the Museum.
Yes.
Okay, so Nia Vardalos wrote this film, and she wrote My Big Fat Greek Wedding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure.
And so I auditioned for this. This was like right when I moved to LA. Auditioned for this movie, and the call was Tom Hanks is looking for a scooter gang. If you have a scooter, meet here. And it was at the Sportsman's Lodge in Burbank. And I had literally that was the first thing I bought when I moved to LA was a scooter. And I'm like, what are the odds? I'm here for 3 or 4 weeks, and Tom Hanks is looking for a scooter gang. So of course I went. And they pulled me. They had me do like this scooter, obstacle course. And then I came back, and they're like, all right, you're good. And then they pulled me aside, and one of the casting directors, who was Judy Boulay, said, hey, can you be in Santa Monica on Monday morning at this time? I was like, sure, not knowing what they wanted. And so I showed up there, and she's like, okay, so here's the deal. Tom Hanks needs a classroom and a scooter gang. And she gave me these scenes to improvise. I improvised them. She absolutely loved it. I got home that afternoon, and she calls me, and she's like, Tom loves your tape. We're going to get back to you in a couple of days. They got back to me in a couple of days. And they're like, she's like, Luis, congratulations. You got the part of the, there was I can't remember the character's name, but it was one of the main characters in the classroom because in the movie, he goes back to college. Yes. Yeah. He goes back to college, and so he's got like this speech class where Julia Roberts is the teacher. And so that's how the whole love story thing. Anyway. So she calls me, and I was so in shock. I was like, can you just say that one more time? And so she said it again. And I was like, holy cow. I hung up the phone with her, and she's like, your life's about to change. This is like, I didn't even get my SAG card. This was going to be my my three. Actually, the movie ended up being my ticket into SAG because I got a whole bunch of vouchers and waivers. But anyway, so she hangs up, and I start freaking out. I start to call my mom, and then I get a phone call from her again, and I'm like, "What's up, Judy, what's going on?" And she's like, "Please don't hate me." I was like, "There's no way I could possibly hate you. This is the best day of my life. What's going on?" She's like, "An actor that Tom wanted originally for the role just became available, and we have to rescind the part. But you're still part of the Scooter Gang. You're still going to be directed by Tom, working close with him. You're not an extra. You're going to be part of the film for the whole shoot." I was like, awesome. I didn't care. Yeah. It was awesome. Either way, I was still super stoked. Turns out the actor that got the part or became available was Rami Malek. Wow. And the reason why he wanted Rami Malek was because he was working on the Pacific and he loved his work. And Tom directed and produced the Pacific on HBO with Gary Getzman, who loved him. They wanted him for the part originally. So that's the story. Truth be told, I think I would have been better.
Damn. So did fun. You guys shot the movie and you got to be part of the gang and all that?
Yeah. Got to hang out. This was like Rami before he won an Oscar. And worked with Gugu Macbeth Raw, who's she was that actress who is in the that new
morning
Marvel time show. What was it? Oh gosh, the Loki. Mm-hmm. She was like the bad guy in Loki.
I think I saw her on the morning show on Apple TV with the.
She's an amazing. She's a really good actress. Got to hang out with Nia Vardalos, which was really cool. She's an amazing writer. Tom, obviously, he was very chummy, very, very friendly.
Your career clearly took off from there. I mean,
it's absolutely just it's all plateaued. Like it's been like this straight. Like I hit this high and then I kind of just plateaued, if not sort of descended.
Did you get an agent and everything out of that? Like, did that your first agent, or you already had an agent out of that?
No, I didn't get an agent out of that. The thing that I got an agent out of, really good agents anyway, was when I did the CBS Diversity Showcase.
Oh,
and that's a pretty crazy program to get into.
Yeah,
over 30,000 people.
Native American guy was in that. Yeah. I went and sat where they do the big showcase in the big theater where you guys do all the sketches and stuff.
In front of executives and talent agents. It's insane. It's like American Idol, but it's a private industry sort of thing. It's crazy.
And it creates lots of gigs. Like within 3 months after going to that thing, I saw like 5 different people as like extras or like smaller roles on TV
oh my god, no! Well,
I just saw that guy on stage 3 weeks ago. Yep.
In my class, there was Nico Santos, who was on Superstore, the Filipino guy on Superstore.
Oh, okay.
And also Andrew Tarver, who is on Comedy Bang Bang. He's like the most brilliant. He is the funniest person I've ever met in my life, ever. Like intimidatingly funny. So yeah. But the cool thing is that right before the pandemic, I know we're not even talking about UFOs. Sorry,
I was going to say Squid's reading John Greenwald's site right now. He's like,
exactly.
Hey, new FOIA documents.
Well, right before the pandemic, I auditioned for the UCB sketch team, and
of course they're closed now.
Yeah, and they closed literally a week before we did our first show.
Yeah.
And they just announced that they're reopening it.
Yeah, I heard that too.
As a whole new thing. And then there's also a rumor that they may bring back those teams that audition that never got to perform for the year, because that's a killer.
And that's hard to put together, like putting together sketch teams. Like I used to write at Acme and IO and Groundlings, all this, but putting those teams together is hard. Like you got a group of people that work well together, just go get them. I wouldn't be surprised if you guys get called. So.
What's cool about it is that it's almost like SNL a little bit, the format, in that there's writers and then there's the actors, and then actors pitch to writers what they think could be funny, and then the writers go back and write it. So it's great because I don't have to write anything, because writing is hard. Writing is a hard thing. I envy the people who do. I've done it, but it's very difficult to do. It takes a lot of time, a lot of effort.
And there are a lot of great comedy writers out there who have no interest in being on camera and love a guy like Luis who's full of energy and character and looks good on camera. And it's like, I can write something for you. So yeah, you're a good match for that.
Yeah, but we'll see, man. It's been fun.
By the way, your hair game is apex today, by the way.
Is it? I think it's an absolute mess. This is
apex hair game. Yeah, you look like from Nora from Upload. You look great.
Okay, thanks, man. Yeah, I'll take it. I haven't seen Upload yet. Is it good?
It's brilliant. Some of the best writing on TV, but
I auditioned for that show.
Did you?
Yeah.
You would have made a great AI character.
It was season one. Season one, it was a character who was like it was funny because he was like a YouTube influencer or vlogger or something like that.
Oh,
I don't know who that character was. But anyway, all right. Let's get to it.
Yeah, let's talk about stuff.
Let's talk about stuff that people came here for. Sorry, guys, everyone in the chat. You got a whole bunch of personal stories there. I hope you enjoyed it. It was different.
Yeah, and I didn't even get the answer to the question I asked, which is which were the Green Street and everyone else's crap you fell for. But who really cares at this point?
Well, no, I was just saying, the whole Rami Malek thing. That's the one that really got me. I was like, and I retweeted. I was like, yeah, man. Anyway, there was a couple more, but that's the one that cut me deep. So
hey, when you had Lou Elizondo on and you brought up Roswell, what was the answer he gave?
He said, "Stick with it." We were playing stick with it, let's move on, or bullshit.
Yeah, I watched the segment and I was trying to remember the label that he gave to that one. I was laying them out for my wife and I agreed with everything he said pretty much. Each one he would go to, I would go, okay, that feels like the right answer. I saw you guys nodding a lot too. Roswell was the one that surprised me a little bit. Not that I'm a Roswell denier. I'm, if anything, I always tell people that's the story that got me into it back in the late 70s, 1980. When Jesse Marcel came on In Search Of and talked about it. And I think there's a lot of smoke there. Whether or not there's fire, I don't know. But I was just curious what he said. I was curious. So.
Yeah, no, he said a couple of things. He said a few things. The one that shocked me, though, was like the Dino Beavers. He hadn't heard of Dino Beavers.
Yeah, that was where it tells you that he didn't read the book, which, I didn't either, so...
Yeah,
I know the day it came out, like a lot of people.
But you've heard of Dino Beavers.
Yes, I had. I knew what the reference was, that it was from the Skinwalker Ranch book. Yes.
Yeah. I don't know. It felt like on that one he was playing a little coy.
Yeah, maybe, and that may be the case.
His answer was like, "Well, I know dino machines are where you could measure the horsepower on cars and stuff."
Oh yeah, like a dynamometer.
Yeah, and I was like, "Yeah, you don't know Lukatsky, the Skinwalker book." Anyway. So you had a tweet the other day, which I thought was funny, and it said, "Big news tomorrow. Any guesses? I think it will be an Earth-like rocky exoplanet around a sun-like star in its inhabitable zone."
Yeah, and that was my guess. It turns out
your guess.
It turns out it was not that. But what they did find, I will talk about, and let's tell you why it's important for hunting for planets with life, what they found the other day. But that was my guess. I was trying to think I was reading the announcement. I was trying to read between the lines, right? And when I reach out to NASA, if they announce something's coming out, it's usually just a press, right? You'll get that.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
I saw Jazz Shaw. I got confused. So
no, you're good. I'm just answering Jazz here.
Yeah, no, that's all right. So usually they don't make an announcement that they're going to make an announcement, right? That's the point over at NASA. So I reached out to my few people over there, and I was just getting we can't comment on it. So I got the impression something really significant was happening. Of course, a lot of people on Twitter were busting me going, dude, they're just trying to raise money. It's budget time of the year, and they're teasing a big announcement. But that's, for me, with telescopes that are hunting for planets or hunting for these sort of things, and obviously Hubble's not typically used for planet hunting, but it has spotted a few over the years. I feel like that's the news we're waiting for next, right? We've seen tons of rocky planets. We've seen tons of planets in habitable zones. We've even seen gas giants in habitable zones that probably have moons around them. And those moons might be Earth size and habitable and whatever. So we found a lot of these types, but we haven't found that trifecta. We haven't found Earth size. We find a lot of super Earths, which are like 2 to 10 times the size of Earth. And there's some good arguments that super Earths might even be better places for life. And I wrote a whole feature about that about 2 months ago. But as we're continuing to conduct this hunt, we're continuing to search. We haven't found that magic about the size of Earth in the habitable zone and around a sun-like star. So, for instance, TRAPPIST, right? The TRAPPIST-1 system, which James Webb's getting ready to look at. And I'm very excited about what the people are going to find there. There's 7 planets in that system. Like 4 of them at least are in the habitable zone, at least as far as we can tell from this distance. And they're all probably rocky and they're all probably generally Earth size. But TRAPPIST is not a sun-like star. It's not like ours. It's a white dwarf. So we're still kind of waiting for that big announcement. Yeah, that was the one you reached out to me on. And I'll admit, I was tempted to say, Luis, if the announcement's crap, I ain't coming on Friday. But so when the announcement came out, it was kind of like, it wasn't what I was hoping for, but it is significant in the search for life, and I can't explain why. So,
well, it just amazes me that Hubble is still producing results as old as it is. I mean, that's pretty wild for it to pick up a star that far away. And I'm going to turn over to Rather here in a second, but I wanted to ask you just to get a sort of scientific perspective of things like this. Like, how long did NASA sit on that kind of discovery before they shout it out to the world? Like, what is the process? Because there's a lot of, I kind of want to kill this idea because people are making these conspiracy theories idea that, you know, especially with the James Webb, that they're going to hide data and they're not going to show anybody. And I'm like, yeah, that's a scientific process. They don't want to make assumptions and put things out there until they've confirmed it, and then they'll make the announcement. So I'm curious on something like this. How long did it take them to go through that process?
Think about Dr. Anthony Fauci and the heat he's taken, and a lot of medical experts during the course of this 2 years of this pandemic, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of that had to do with a constant changing of position, a constant refining of their position. Now, for people that follow science, or like I do, I write about it now, you're kind of used to that process. You're used to that. We're constantly refining information. As I like to point out to people all the time, when I took astronomy at UCLA, an exoplanet was in theory. And my astronomy professor, who was an award-winning, tenured professor at UCLA, just didn't believe they existed. He said, I just think planets are only in our solar system, right? Yeah. So who are we talking about?
We were talking about the process of right. How long does the process take?
All right. So
no, sorry, no. I'm sending out a tweet about the show while I'm listening.
It's fine.
So please don't think I'm not paying attention.
Yeah, that's all right.
All right.
Honey, no.
I'm sorry. I just want to make sure people can come see and listen to you, Christopher Plain.
And think of this constant refining of information, right? So when you're in this business, when you're in the business of announcing results, I'll get press releases on studies and you'll go, they did this between 2016 and 2018. Why am I getting a press release in 2022? Because it took that long for them to feel confident enough to report the data the way they wanted to report it. So say, for instance, the CDC and Fauci and these had never spoke for 2 years. Now they're finally at the point, right? Like, we understand this disease enough, we understand enough about it that they could probably give some really solid guidance on how to handle it. But trying to do it in real time, trying to do it as data is constantly changing, is like trying to predict the weather 1 minute by 1 minute. It's just really hard to do.
Yeah.
So I will tell you this. If the James Webb's or Hubble or one of these observatories, the Extremely Large Telescope in southern Chile, or any of these observatories that really look for this stuff, if they get something really explosive, if they get like, we're seeing signs of life around a planet, something that explosive, we're going to know about it quick. And the reason we're going to know about it quick is because, and I've had, we've had scientists from NASA tell us this right on the Debrief podcast, way when we were early on at the Debrief. And a couple of them said, we're just not good at keeping secrets. That the scientists and the NASA types, they get so excited about data, they start sharing it with each other. That's why so many of them would tell me privately, I don't think we have, within NASA, I don't think we have photos of UFOs, or I don't think we have dispositive evidence of UFOs, because we would just all share it with each other and talk about it, and it would just be out there. And I can tell you, I've told people on this show and other shows the same thing, that I'm the exact same way. If somebody sends me, if Tim McMillan gets a hold of the triangle photo, if he doesn't have it, I don't know. But if he gives me a copy, that thing's going on the internet the next day, if not right away. Because I feel a fiduciary duty to humanity, that if I have something that sure seems to show that we have life from another planet here, I'm putting it out. Well, and a lot of scientists tell me that exact same thing.
That was something last month. The last time you were on the show, you teased something that was coming out at the end of March from the Debrief and Tim McMillan. And then what happened to that? Where is it? What are we talking about here, man? You're killing me.
So this is part of the reason I wasn't sure I wanted to come on today. This story is not dead, I will tell you that.
Okay.
And there's video.
Okay. I don't want to get you in trouble, Christopher.
And unfortunately, that's all I can say right now, because I got myself in trouble.
Have you seen the video? Can you answer that?
I can't even, I've just been told, just don't even talk about that in any way. I can tell you this, my birthday is in June. And if we get to my birthday and it's not out, I'll everything will come out. Let me put it
in the can down the road.
Because I'll be like, I don't care. I'm fed up. I have a way I promote things. I have a belief in the way you treat people, where you give them a little bit to let them know it's coming, and then you pay off, right? Like, you don't tease something you're not coming with. And over the year plus I've been on your show, and back when you used to work with Mike, I would come on, I would tease something, and that thing would pay off, for better or for worse, right? And so this is the first time I put myself in a position where I teased something I probably wasn't in a position to tease yet. But if there's a feeling that this is gone, or this is dead, or Chris, don't feel that way, okay?
Okay.
More I don't care. Whatever. Screw it. They don't pay me that much. Here's what I'll tell you. It's not the only video or the only story that's being worked on either. And here's what I think is happening. And I've said this before. We have an information bubble. Luis Elizondo and Chris Mellon in particular have said in tons of interviews, and I know because I've written questions for some of these interviews that they've been on, that there's more video, better pictures, more signal data showing things going insane speeds underwater, transmedium. Chris Mellon has implied more than once that there's videos of things coming out of the atmosphere, entering the Earth's atmosphere, and then going back out again. I think that when you hear a guy like Bill Nelson come out and try and tell you, like, it's probably aliens, or Chris Mellon try and tell you that's the answer, that best fits the evidence, which is what he told on the Hill after he wrote the piece for us. I think these guys have put themselves in a position where they've said there's better data, and that data is what's informing my opinion. Because I think all of us on the outside, I think this is why my name here at the bottom, I think this is why you see a change in the UFO field over the last few months, is a lot of people have kind of rounded around on the guys that we're trusting, these whistleblowers. And I respect both of them, think they've done a great job. I have no negative things to say. But they've painted themselves into a corner. They've pretty much said There's better video. There's stuff showing the observables. That was one of the key questions I made sure Mike asked when he had Elizondo on many months ago when I wrote questions is, are there videos showing the observables? Because I got to be honest, the 3 videos we've seen so far, as exciting as they were when they first came out, I think the time and Mick West and the people that have done a lot of hard work on theirs have put enough doubt on those that those don't feel like those. If that's what you're saying, aliens is the best answer out of, I would disagree with you. Right. I would say conventional technologies or technologies maybe we don't know about could answer those. Doesn't mean it does. I'm just saying I don't draw an alien's opinion from those videos. I don't draw a non-human technological intelligence. But these guys are given that impression. And that's what I think people in my position, the debrief, people that are in this business of chasing this stuff down, that's what we're all working on is if you guys have this opinion and the people at the ODNI, the Senator Intelligence Committee, the people that have seen these videos are all basing your opinions on something we haven't seen, then you either got to give us that, you got to leak some of that to people like us and let us start getting that out, or you gotta give it up and just say, hey, public is not going to see this stuff, and that's what our opinion's on. And if that's the case, then I can't back your opinion, because what do I have my own opinions on what's going on? Sure, I've said it right here on the show. I wrote a piece on the debrief saying it's probably aliens, and I think there's a lot of good evidence for that. But I think that's where we're at. So when guys like me are chasing video, when we're talking about video, we're talking about things, this is the situation we're operating in now. Is there's a bubble. We know it's there. There's too many authoritative people have said better video, better photos, signal intelligence and stuff going 500 knots underwater, all sort of these things. We just know it's there. Or it's one big counter intel op, and Mellon and Luis are what people have said they are, which is they're full of it. And that's not the vibe I get from either guy. I really do think that their opinions are informed on more information than ours are.
We'll take their opinions out of it. I think you're right in the fact that in these classified settings at these security committees, they're watching these videos, they're getting briefed by pilots, and I think people outside of Christopher Mellon and Lou Elizondo, and they are saying to themselves, okay, this is something we need to look into. And they're the ones who are putting out the amendments, and they're the ones who are talking about it publicly. They're the ones who are saying, look, we don't know if it's Russian, we don't know if it's Chinese, but it's displaying things that we think don't fit those two countries. And the hypothesis of it being extraterrestrial or non-human made is being considered at the tables of these very classified committees. So I think you're right. Like, I think there is a bubble. There's going to be a bubble burst of some kind with something. There has to be. There has to be. Because I think you're right. Based off of these 3 videos, the last 5 years has really, I think, been good for these 3 videos. Has been good for clarity because I think it definitely got everyone's attention. And then once you did, and then the geeks look into it and dive into it, it doesn't, like, the mass of society is not paying attention to what Mick West is doing. They heard, oh my God, yeah, there's 3 videos and pilots chased them, and they even said that they saw them, like, that's what sticks in the zeitgeist. And then all of this stuff that we're doing and talking about is kind of like, it doesn't matter. And then I think when this next bubble comes, it's going to be the same thing. But I think going into whenever this bubble does burst, I think going into it, at least for this show and for me, we're going to be way more, whoa. Let's make sure that there's science done behind these videos and that we can confirm what is being claimed is what's actually what we're seeing. Because I think we have to set the bar higher as far as what's going to pass the sniff test. Because if we don't fall for it, then I don't think the the general public is going to follow along. They're just going to be
better or worse, Luis. You and Squid and the people that are doing this, guys like Vinny at Disclosure, the people that are really chasing this regularly, whether you like it or not, and I think this is a good thing, you have created a situation where you know this topic intimately. You know what's available pretty well as far as video and photos. You've analyzed everything. And like me, you're willing to say there's not enough it's not convincing evidence. We're getting people who have seen more than us and have allegedly, and they're offering an opinion. But in many ways, the UFO Twitter and the podcasts and all this group of people, we've kind of turned into like a big Mick West machine. We want to, maybe there's a stronger desire to want to believe, and there's a stronger openness, but we're so well informed on these videos and FOIAs and documents and the history of the subject that you could see where a senator in an intelligence committee would hear Ryan Graves' testimony, would hear, Sex Fravor's testimony, and would see a couple of videos and go, oh my goodness, maybe there's something to this. Where we are now at the point where we've become the critic. And I think that's what you're saying. I think the UFO community, the community that watches these specials, that watches these shows, that supports this, and that is open to this being that non-traditional explanation. Again, an opinion I myself hold.
Yeah.
I do still think that what they've created now is a million skeptics going, I kind of feel like I need proof now. You'll see these guys that joined MUFON 50 years ago or got into that, or you'll even see people I work with that got into this movement at one point and found pulling themselves back out, because there is a point where you reach the limit of what's available. And when you reach that limit, you've seen every Stephen Greer testimony. I mean, back in the early 2000s, late 90s, I was watching the Disclosure stuff on his website, watching those testimony of all of those people.
Yeah.
Looked at all the documents. At some point, you've absorbed close to what's all available. As maybe I haven't seen every Elizondo interview or every Mellon interview, but at some point, guys like you've absorbed enough, you've discussed enough, that in many ways you've created this critical lens that lets you look at stuff and go pretty quickly. Like think of like the rubber duck video, right? Like think how quickly that went from, oh my God, we have new video to it's probably a balloon or a drone or something. And I think that's good. I tell people this all the time, and I tell scientists this too. I say, for a guy like me, I got into these fantastical subjects as a kid, and they led to an interest in science, right? Yeah. So I was like, oh, did aliens build the pyramids? And next thing I know a lot about how the pyramids were probably built, a lot about the people that actually built them, and a lot about Egyptian history. And that's really neat and fun and exciting and mysterious. We still don't know how they were built, by the way.
You know what's funny, man? I heard a great comic today say, I have to say this because it was such a funny point. The mystery of the Egyptians building the pyramids, like, oh, it must have been aliens, right? How did they build the pyramids? But you go down to Mexico and they got the exact same pyramids down there, and who built those? Mexicans built those. Like, it's very clear. There's no mix up there. They're like, oh yeah, this was built by the Mexicans at this date, this time. There's no alien hypothesis when it comes to those pyramids. And they're
George Lopez used to do a joke about that like 25 years ago, where he was like, they talk about the Egyptian pyramids. We got them down in Mexico, and he's like, they went to like 3 contractors. He's like, I can do it.
Yeah, he's like,
I bet they half the price of the Egyptians. I'll do it.
I love it. But yeah, no, I didn't.
Yes, I just did a Spanish accent. I'm a white guy.
Yep.
Lo siento, mis familia Españas.
You're in trouble. Thank you, Dorothy Hawkins, for the $2 donation.
Woo,
Truly appreciate it.
$2.
Thank you.
That's why you bring me on, Luis. It's like a money machine.
You are a money
the
machine,
plane
man.
comes on. That super chat comes in 2 bones at a time.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's valuable. Rather, you want to pop up the phone or see if anybody's got questions here for Mr. Plane? If you want, you guys can call in and ask him some questions. But I'm wondering, like, because we've really been sort of thinking about this heavily, especially in the last 2 weeks with everything that's gone down with the show. And this idea of, like, I think especially for the next Big Phone Home 3, like, we've got 2 initiatives especially that have nothing to do with UFOs that is still a very good thing to proposition lawmakers with, because they are policies that transcend the UFO topic. So improving the FOIA process, making it easier for people like John Greenwald and journalists to use the FOIA process and stop getting so hung up on these stupid little things. Maybe even add some funds and money into the FOIA process, I think would be incredibly helpful, because I think as American citizens, we can help you with a lot of this research. Just let us help you. Let us look at the files, because God knows you guys don't have the time. And the other thing is the overclassification of intelligence, not just within the UAP community, but across all branches of the military. Like, this is a problem. It's a national security issue. And so that's something that we can ask for that has nothing to do with UAP. And we can even concentrate, as people might hate this, but again, I think it's a policy that could be written that would help unlock things beyond the UAV drone discussion, in that, look, as an American citizen, I am concerned, especially by the work of Tyler Rogaway in The Drive and his explanation of how this drone swarm technology could be used in a terrorist attack, because we've got a huge hole in our security apparatus, because we've stigmatized this UFO topic so much that pilots and military personnel are not reporting these things because they're afraid of the repercussions. Yep. So these are all things we can lobby the government for, and we don't have to sound insensitive or crazy, because I mean the whole thing with the next Big Phone Home is like, what's going on in Syria? Like, when can we have a political conversation about this without people going, well, man, there's World War III is about to happen? Yeah, no, I get it. So that's why I think I'm also trying to find these aspects of the discussion that we can go forward with without it being just UFO UAP centric.
You're not chasing congressional hearings. I thought that was the next move here. No,
we are definitely chasing congressional hearings for sure. That is something
I think that's the key that unlocks this door, Luis. I hate to admit it, and I wrote that before I even joined the Debrief. Maybe in the 2 months before I joined the Debrief, about a year and a half ago, I was writing for a website called UAPresearch.com. And I wrote a piece about that at the time, just basically saying that we need, people talk about amnesty. So I'm always weird about who you want to give amnesty to before you know what they're going to, it's like the old Law and Order episode where you tell the guy, yeah, we'll give you freedom. And then he confesses to 8 more crimes. And you go, oh my God, but you're telling me Lou Elizondo, Chris Mellon, some of these people, that we've seen sitting in front of Congress. Okay, say Kevin Day is in front of Congress and he says, hey, I heard that they came on the ship and took away all the radar tapes and took away all the data after the Tic Tac incident. And they go, who'd you hear that from? And he can now say, and they can pull that officer on, and they can pull the captain of the ship on and go, hey, where'd your tapes go? Did helicopters land on your ship? Was there someone from the Air Force there taking your radar tapes? Where'd that stuff go? And you can start going up the chain like a courtroom and bringing these people in, and you can get to those answers. So when a Chris Mellon or Lou Elizondo says, the best answer is a non-human one, but their opinion is informed by things we can't look at or things we can't see, that's the venue for them to air those things. That's the venue for them to say, there's videos. This is what I saw in this video. This is what I saw in that video. I saw this radar and telemetry data. And that's the venue, I think, for that to burst that information bubble. At the same time, I do think there are a lot of smart people working behind the scenes to try and burst it coming from the other side. I do think the unfortunate thing there is by this move happening at the end of 2017 and everything that's come out of it, I think there's a lot of people that may have spoke before that are more reluctant to speak now. So I think it's harder for reporters to go get video or go get released intel than it was before, because I do think there's an internal crackdown. But I think that damage has been done. So yeah, I was just curious if you guys were pushing for that. I know
definitely. No, that's for sure one of them. I mean, we're pushing for, like you said, a period of amnesty, and we're also pushing for public hearings. Obviously, I think those two are on the top of the list. But I think it's also interesting that we're getting to a point now where we can have parts of this discussion that help across the aisle. Like it's also bipartisan, and it brings importance to other. It's like piggybacking. Like, hey, we're fighting for, because in my opinion, if this UFO community is responsible for pointing out a huge hole in our security systems and because of stigma, and we get legislation passed that helps prevent a terrorist attack from drones, huge win. I mean, enormous. And in the future, I think that buys us currency to be like, okay, now we want a little bit more. We want the videos, we want whatever we're asking for. Real quick, if you guys are trying to call in, Bill's trying to reset the phone, so keep trying. Eventually they'll pop back on. And I also want to just acknowledge some super chats here. Holy cow. Jazz just opened the absolute floodgate with this. Christina Gomez is in the house. Chris Plain, says Christina. Thank you for being here, my lady. Brian Sprague here says, what is sausage fest? Yum.
So adorable. Get in my pocket, Sprague.
Jazz Shaw says, it's been nice working with you at the Debrief, Chris. We'll miss you.
Actually, that was a big announcement I was going to make today, that I probably am stepping down at the Debrief. So April Fool.
Spill the beans on that March video.
Damn it. Yeah, damn it. You had me for a second.
That's what I figured. My wife said, don't do that. That's so lame. You're quitting. I said, all right. I said, I'll find a way to sneak it in and pull it right back immediately.
That was good. Well good. Done. You had me for a second. Jazz Shaw with a $50 donation. Thank you, sir. Says, before the break, here you go, Luis. Stay out of your Uber. And if anybody else wants to do a shot challenge and send Luis, feel free to send me the link and I'll do it live. All right. Well, we did get another $50 super chat. But let's go through a couple more. Can you send Jazz the link? I can do that. Just DM him on Twitter, please, if you can. Matthew Wright with a $5 donation. Plain the hemorrhoid of the Debrief.
Thank you, Matthew. I won't argue the accuracy of that.
Justin S. Best UFO show on YouTube. Thank you for always being real and having each other's back. That's what matters. Thank you, man. That's honestly,
I can say that too. Luis, I have shows that I really am a big fan of, that UFO podcast and Vinny over at Disclosure Team, and I love Ryan to death, and Christina and I are very close, and I think you and Rather and you guys and Jane when she's here, I think you guys put on the best UFO show on YouTube. There's no doubt about it.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate it. Thank you. That's very kind of you.
Okay.
I think
you're also one of the only podcast I do whose check clears every time. So I appreciate that.
There you go.
0.00 as
that's right.
Aaron Desario with a $50 donation. Thank you, Desario. Always, man. Aaron, just quick shout out to him, man. He's not only a supporter. This guy is an insane supporter of people like Christina Gomez and that UFO podcast.
Yep.
And, all those shows you just mentioned, and my show included.
And he does wonders on the Discord and the chat here to keep people having civil conversations. He's a great guy.
I honestly don't know how you do it, man. And I cannot appreciate you enough. Just seriously, just a beautiful person, beautiful human.
Yeah, I agree.
Aaron,
I see Aaron in the side chat of all of these shows, Luis. I'll be catching Christina while I'm working or one of the others. And there's Aaron in that side chat working it, bringing up good questions, good comments. Yeah, I'm a fan too. So.
he's the man. I don't want to encourage any potential addictive behavior, but I'll donate to keep Luis out of the Uber, especially now that the thousands he gets from super chats are going to dry up for a while. I appreciate it, my man. Thank you so much. And then Gerald Greenwald says, I'm going to have to find some friends whilst you're away. Guys, we'll still be available. All right, we'll talk about it in the next 10 or 15 minutes. We'll tell you exactly what's going down here. So stay tuned. Did you send Jazz the link?
I did.
Okay, cool. And phone lines are fixed. So if you guys, again, if you want to call in here, we got about 10 more minutes with Christopher Plain. Sneak in a question if you can.
Can I tell you why this recent discovery from NASA was important, Luis?
Of course.
Yeah.
Sure. So they used a process called gravitational lensing. And this is really a unique phenomena, but it's also not that unique. So imagine if you're looking at a piece of newspaper, because everyone knows what that is, looking at a piece of paper with some print on it, and you drop a drop of water on there, right? And through that drop of water, everything's magnified. Or you put like a clear bottle full of liquid in front of something printed, and it bends that light and magnifies it the same way a lens does in a telescope or a microscope. Well, because gravity bends light, gravity can act in the right situation as a lens. So what they did is they found this star area they were looking for with the Hubble, and between them and where they were looking was an entire galaxy. So talk about a lot of gravity. That galaxy, they were able to use the gravity from it as like a lens. So you could see what was on the other side like you would with a telescope. It bends that light around and focuses it the same way a telescope or a microscope would. And all of a sudden you can see it. And this is why this is important. You know, a lot of us, including myself, would really like to jump steps. I would really like somebody to invent a warp drive tomorrow, and I would like it let out that we have alien crash ships, we have bodies, and all of that is real. And I would like that right away, like everyone. And I don't think that that's unrealistic, that any of those things will happen. But in the absence of skipping steps, in the absence of disclosure on UFOs, or in the absence of disclosure on something like warp technology, conventional science is continually moving closer and closer to finding these answers we want. So I talk about it all the time. The rovers or search for microscopic life on these other things. We've talked about James Webb Telescope looking for biosignatures in the atmospheres of planets, which it's definitely going to do. It's definitely going to do a bunch of that.
Yeah.
But the idea that we could take a picture of one of these planets, if you could actually directly image the way you could, like, you know, if you're sitting out on Mars and you point a telescope at Earth, you can see all the continents and you can see all the greenery and all of that sort of stuff. Well, a bunch of scientists got together and they figured out years back, and there's a few proposals towards this end now, that if you went about 550 astronomical units away from Earth or from the sun, and you pointed a telescope directly at the sun, but you blocked the light from it with a shade, the sun itself would work as a gravitational lens. And you could point that lens right at TRAPPIST and look at those TRAPPIST F and D and some of the ones that really are like, man, that could be Earth right there. Like, that could have life and water and greenery and everything, and get, instead of a 1 pixel image like we do with some of these exoplanets that we've directly imaged, these huge gas giants, you could get a 200 to 300 pixel image. It would take about a year to gather the information, but that would be a photo of a planet where you could see water, you could see continents, you could see color enough, you could see enough to differentiate if there's actually greenery there. And if there are lights turned on, if there's living things there, at night we would see lights from that in that image, the same way if you were up in space and shot an image of Earth. So this is something that's been talked about a lot, using gravitational lensing to image exoplanets. And it is something that will ultimately be done. It may be decades from now before we get a telescope out to that distance and are able to use the sun in that way. But to have the Hubble successfully do this, using the gravity of a entire galaxy to spot a star that is, 13 billion almost light years away, a star that's only 1 billion years old, or formed a billion years into the age of the galaxy. That's really incredible. That's really, like, to have physically done that, use the lens that way, shows that not only is it viable, it's something that we're already doing. And so I've talked, I reported on a alternative source of propulsion called a plasma magnet, or the Wind Rider. But without getting too far into the details, we have the technologies now, and they're very close to put a probe out at 550 AU that has the right cameras and equipment on it to use the sun as a gravitational lens and to take a picture of a planet that is light years away, up to 100 light years away. The sun would let us focus on, and TRAPPIST is about 40. Something like Proxima Centauri, wow, we'd get a really beautiful picture of the 2 planets we found around there so far as well.
That would be game changers. Rather, what do you got?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's amazing. I can't wait for that to happen. Do you think that how do you think we can get the political capital to actually make something, make a mission happen that will put something out there at 500 AU away?
So look at where we are now, right? So the idea that there were no exoplanets, something I always bring up. And then all of a sudden there were. 1995, we saw the first one, and now we have over 5,000 we've spotted. We've got thousands of more candidates that we're just waiting for the software to suss out and say yes or no. That sort of discovery, and those sort of discoveries from the mid-90s, is what created the James Webb Telescope. That is the political capital. The discoveries that were made by Hubble, I mean, granted, they were planning James Webb 6 months before Hubble was even launched. They were already planning the next infrared because of the new technology. But the political capital, the will of the people to make that happen, is because of this. There are planets everywhere. We're seeing them. We're seeing rocky ones. We're seeing Earth-like ones. We're seeing them in habitable zones. How do we get up and get images of these? How do we get more information about them? How do we understand what's going on there? And that's what ended up with the web. So yeah, I think what will happen is, again, in absence of jumping steps, in absence of some sort of, Galileo project comes with a high-def photo, or in absence of that, I do think that we are not far at all from undertaking that type of mission, from sending a telescope, because Webb is going to spot planets, and Webb is going to spot planets that have gases in the atmosphere that indicate life is probably there. I'm confident in saying that. Do I know that for sure? Of course not. But that's what it's designed to do, is to, in some instances, is to look at these planets and gather enough information from the light when that planet passes in front of a star to read the atmosphere and understand what gases are there. And if we see the highest enough amounts of oxygen and methane and other things that are only really created in volume by life on Earth, all of a sudden we have this whole list of planets that we're going to want to take pictures of. So the question will be, do we try and send a probe there 4 light years, 40 light years away, something that right now would take us thousands of years to do? Or do we undertake a program that might take a decade or two to put a camera in place to take a picture of those planets? So that's where I think, the natural progress of astronomy in my lifetime is just this natural march. But I think that urgency has grown as people have seen, oh my God, there really are planets. And oh my God, they really are in the habitable zone. And so many other discoveries, Luis and Squid. I mean, just so many other, they find peptides and complex organic molecules around protoplanetary disks. Now, just every piece of information we find in astronomy that we didn't expect to find typically points towards more likelihood of life elsewhere, not less. Right. So unless you don't believe in evolution, unless you believe that microscopic life is everywhere, which is the new de facto comfort position for people. Oh yeah, there's microscopic life everywhere. There's not intelligent life. Well, the reason you think there's microscopic life everywhere is because of the science. So if you believe in science, I mean, evolution is pretty fundamental. I mean, and I'm not talking about the origin of life. I'm not talking about how we went from inert material to the first microscopic life.
Well, I mean,
I'm talking about how if you have a planet full of microscopic life, that planet will evolve. That life will evolve under the natural physical pressures.
Every time we thought we were special, we've been proven wrong.
Exactly. Exactly. So two things real quick. Daniel from Washington State, we had you on hold, and I'm sorry, I was going to bring you in, but I misread a message from our producer, Bill. So if you want to call back and get your question into Christopher Plain, I'll make sure we'll get you through a lot quicker. I apologize for that. So
I can stick around if you need me to, Luis.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we might have to stick around for another 10 minutes or so. Sure. And then we've got real quick a special visitor here. And then we'll go to a question. The wonderful, incomparable, original hype man of the UCR, of the Unidentified Celebrity Review, Mr. Jazz Shaw. Jazz, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I don't want to be part of the show. I wasn't involved in it. I want to say, as I said in the chat, thanks to Chris for being part of the debrief team. I know, you're going to be fired tomorrow. So, but, it's been great having you, and I've really enjoyed all of your work. So, yeah, there's going to be an announcement
I would like
shortly.
to say to you, Jazz, that you're the most realistic computer avatar I've ever worked with. And when people find
it's
out
all a
that you
simulation.
actually don't exist, that you're like Max Headroom, they're going to be so blown away.
Exactly. I mean, it's all a simulation, right? And I was one of the NPCs that nobody saw coming.
Jazz is kind of like me if I were like thinner, smarter, and older, right? Like it's they're kind of both writer guys, but Jazz is just a little bit smarter, a little better looking, but I'm a little bit younger, I think.
Oh wow! Wait, can you repeat the better looking thing? Because my wife's not home yet. I want to really get this, on credit. No, I'm not here to be part of the show. I just said I would like everybody to be able to support the show. There's going to be an announcement about a break coming up, and thank you to everybody who continues to support this show. Thank you to, everybody who has jumped in. There's been so many of you, but anybody who wants to do a shot challenge, providing I don't die on screen, let's go ahead and do it. I'm lined up here, I'm ready to go, and then I'm going to jump out and let these guys finish the program.
Well, we did get one from Aaron Desario, so you owe us one.
Aaron Desario. All right, here we go, Aaron. It's just this standard this week. I don't have any of the special ones, but Aaron, thank you for the donation.
Thank you, Aaron. Bottoms up. Thank you, Jazz.
Anybody else wants to jump in? Feel free.
Absolutely. Okay, so we did have a question here from our audience, so I'm going to ask this one because I think it was for Chris, but anyone can give us their opinions. What is the feeling on the Senate floor? What percentage needs convincing that these UAP are not designed by mankind? And then I think we'll follow up with Jazz. I'm sure Jazz has an answer to that question.
I have no idea. I got to be honest. I have no read on the political feel for this issue at all, other than the fact that has been pointed out a number of times that this is uniquely bipartisan, that this issue, it's really hard to politicize some things, but we still do in America because we're in the middle of a culture war and we're still fighting a 150-year-old civil war. So fair enough. But it seems like this issue is relatively unifying. So I think that's always the biggest benefit it has when going to politics is when you're a politician. I was a poli-sci major in college at UCLA, and I got to go to DC. I got to meet a lot of these people. I got to sit in, and pretty much what politicians do, especially senators and representatives, is two things. One is they raise money, and that's what they do pretty much all day, every day to try and get reelected. Right. And then they look for places they can make headway that will make the most positive benefit and cause the least amount of political blowback. And This is one of those issues, because the worst that can happen to you as a politician is it all turns out to be bunk, which we know it isn't. But let's say that's the result, right?
Right.
As a politician, you go, hey, I was going off of military, I was going off of pilots, I'm going off of people who are paid to keep us safe that are saying we're not safe right now. That there is something that outperforms our jets, outperforms our best equipment, can trail behind our ships. And when we they tried to, there's a story of trying to knock some of these things down with our anti-drone technology. I was just reading that the other day about some of the microwave and other things, and they're not coming down out of the sky. And when I asked Tim McMillan, or I asked some of these people that I work with, or some of these people I know, hey, have we ever shot at these things? No one will give me an answer, which is a big fat yes to me. So I do think that that's where we're at with Congress. I do think we're at a point where they can safely lean into this issue regardless of what party they're for. So if more data comes out, more data works its way to more politicians, I think they would love a chance. This is a great grandstanding, are we keeping the American people safe sort of issue that both sides could get behind.
Yep.
Chaz, what do you think?
We already had one speech on the House floor earlier this year. I don't have it in front of me because I wasn't planning on being on the show. I'm sorry. Where we had one congressman who stood up on the House floor and gave a speech that got passed around a lot, where he basically accused the Pentagon of hiding everything. And he's like, we already know this is going on. We need answers, And it was a long, impassioned speech. And I wrote an article not too long ago at Salem, where I was like, if this guy had done this even 10 years ago, he wouldn't be in Congress.
Right.
Nobody would vote for him. Nobody would touch that with a 10-meter pole, and now it just happens. And I think we are on the precipice of something new. What's coming next? I don't know. I track it all the time. Talk to Tim McMillan over the debrief. He's really had a lot of feelers, inside on a good inside track. I think there's a lot of new information coming out. I don't want to confuse that with the stuff you see on Twitter about, there's new videos coming out next month. There may be, possibly, but I'm more interested in the members of Congress that are coming out there and talking about, it's not just this bill we passed. We're not done. This is only the beginning, and we have to do these things. So, no, I'm very hopeful, and I agree with Chris, except for the point where he talked about what, Tim's going to do, which obviously, Chris is going to be fired. But it was nice working with you, Chris.
Thank you, Jazz. And I don't know if anyone's noticed, but Jazz's frequency at the debrief lately, he's been cranking out stuff. Because I write there, I go into the back behind the scenes server and I load up my stories. And damn, if every time I'm not in there, there's a new story by Jazz. And of course,
I had a new one today.
Did you?
Yeah, today I had a new one from one of the earliest sightings ever. But it didn't really have to do with that sighting, and had to do with a reporter who went and got a plane commissioned and went out and found a repeat of the earliest UFO sighting ever, or so he claims, So go take a look. It just went up today on the debrief.
Awesome.
Well, April 1st is a interesting time to post those articles.
I worked on that for 3.5 weeks. It was only happenstance that it happened to publish today. It's not a April Fool's joke whatsoever. This is a guy who was a reporter in Boise, Idaho, who, after Kenneth Arnold saw the original incorrectly described flying saucers, he described them as discs, right? Mm-hmm. There was a reporter that got sent out there with a plane and spent days out there with an International Guard group. And he went and had an 8mm camera and said he found another one of those discs in the same spot where Kenneth Arnold saw the original thing. And It was a crazy story. And almost nobody's ever talked about that ever. So we got that over the debrief right now. Go take a look.
Awesome.
Check it out.
God, I wasn't supposed to be one of the guests on the show. I was here to drink and just raise money. Come on, people, send in more donations and let these guys talk. Really.
This is one of the great things about working with Jazz. Is not only is he funny and a complete mess, but he really has this encyclopedic knowledge, like,
Yeah.
and Micah Hanks, I talk about this, like a guy like Tim McMillan is an investigative reporter who found himself in this story and is really deep into it and knows a lot. But he and I will talk lots of times about, our lack of knowledge of a lot of the wider, broader aspects of the story. And you could throw one of these at Jazz or throw one of these at Micah, and these guys know it. So, I really look forward to reading Jazz's stuff because it informs you just better all over the topic. But the thing I always love when I read these older accounts is how much they echo what we're hearing now, how similar they are. I point people to the movie. There's a documentary. You can watch it for free on YouTube, and I point people to it all the time. It's a dramatized documentary from 1956, and it's just called UFO.
Yeah.
Watch that documentary, and what will give you chills, at least it did to me, is it could be the 2017 to 2022 discussion. They're talking about, is it Russians? Is it somebody else? Military pilots are seeing it. It's doing these sort of maneuvers. And the big wrap up at the end of the movie is the guy who played one of the Blue Book team members who was charged with discussing this with the public, the liaison for the military. And he basically has an internal dialogue with himself at the movie at the end where he says, if it's not Russian, it's not, I don't think they were saying Chinese at that point, but it's not other, and we know it's not ours, and we know it's real, then what's left? And I think, if I remember right, he even kind of like points to the sky at the end of the movie. But it's a really poignant documentary to show that, unlike urban myths, which change all the time, unlike some things like maybe abduction phenomena, which seem to show up in the second half of the 20th century and then maybe minimized to some degree, or crop circles or things like that, the story around stuff in the skies that military and civilian pilots see pretty regularly, that seem to perform and do things that our craft just simply cannot do, has remained unchanged since Kenneth Arnold. Has remained unchanged for 75 years.
Chris, DM me a link to that after the show, please.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I know.
Yep, I see we have a shot from Eventide.
Yeah. Says drink up, sir.
Thank you for keeping Luis out of his Uber and keeping the show going, because there's a lot of work coming, particularly with the next big phone home. So let's keep this process going. Here we go.
Thank you, Jazz. Thank you, Eventide. Eventide. I don't know why I've been calling him Eventide. Eventide. I don't know why you said Eventide, which I think is right.
I'm just guessing. I have no idea.
No, I think you nailed it, Jazz. You nailed it. It's definitely Eventide. Well, gentlemen, as always, this has been amazing. I didn't even expect, obviously, Jazz didn't expect, nobody expected Jazz to come in here today, but it's always a pleasure when we get
unexpected Jazz. Great.
What we'll do is we'll keep you in the back room, and if we get another one, we'll just pop you up, you take the shot, and you go away again. You'll be like the little shot fairy.
I may not be on camera in the background, but I'll have my headphones on, so let me know. Challenge is on. Support the channel, guys. We got a lot of work to do this year, and these guys are doing God's work. Really. We're going to get something going with the Big Phone Home 3, and the questions we're going to be demanding answers to this time, they're even more important than what happened in the first two. And I think this makes a huge difference. So thank you for having me, guys.
I agree with Jazz. 2022, guys, spring may take a little time to get our feet under us here for Galileo and some of these other things that are UAPX and the findings that they're getting ready to report, and some of these other groups. But I would not be surprised if, like I said, come around my birthday, come June, and come throughout the summer and the second half of the year, that we could be sitting around in November talking about, like, God, didn't it seem slow in March and April? And now things are cranking up. I think there's a lot happening, a lot in the works. I know we're working on stuff constantly, and
Well,
I
speaking
know
of
we're
that,
not the only ones.
this is the last question for you here, Chris. It's from G West and says, question for Chris. Besides James Webb Space Telescope, what upcoming NASA mission are you most excited for?
Mm.
I think Artemis is huge. I think,
Yeah.
the great thing about the moon is it really is like it serves everything you need for deep space exploration. It's right next to us. It's like a nice chunk of rock that we can put a base on, we can launch stuff from, but you don't have the atmosphere issues, you don't have the gravity issues you do on Earth. It's almost like if you wanted to reach out to deep space, the first thing you would do is put some habitats in orbit, which we've done, and there are more coming up. But I think by the end of the decade, we are going to have built that settlement up on the moon. These various Artemis missions are going to put stuff there. And instead of hearing about, the next crew is going up to the International Space Station for 180 days and yawning, the next crew's going to the moon. And they're expanding the habitat. They're putting up a new module. They're digging into a new area. That is going to get really killer. So when we start sending stuff to Mars and doing these bigger missions, we're going to have a base on the moon. I mean, that's right out of science fiction from my childhood.
Can I get one question in for Chris before we?
Yeah, please.
Really quick, because you're the guy I would want to ask. There are so many stories that have been out there, and I've covered them on both mainstream and debrief stuff about this one incident on the moon. I'm sure you're familiar with the story, where we already know we've had seismometers installed on the moon from the early missions. And then there was this one impact where everybody said, oh, something hit the moon, and it rang like a bell for a long time. And that seemed to spawn the whole, oh, the moon is hollow. Maybe it's a vehicle and not a planet, which I've always thought was kind of crazy. But I know you've seen these things, Chris. What do you think? I mean, have you ever looked at the data about that?
Do I think the moon is hollow, Jazz?
No, I mean, have you seen the story about the moon ringing like a bell in seismometers?
Yeah, no, I did hear that. I did hear that something they don't know what it was slammed into it. And yes, there's no impact crater connected to that event or anything, but there was definitely this vibration that went through the whole moon. And I did hear some initial speculation about what it may not be, but I never heard anything about the hollowness of the moon. No, I had not heard that.
And I know that they have had some radar, ground penetrating radar, and they've kind of mapped the inside of the moon, and they have found weird anomalies. Like I think that they think that there was some space body slammed into the moon, and there's like a big hunk of denser material at places. So there are some unusual things about the interior of the moon. But
for the longest time, we just thought the moon formed during the natural process of the forming of Earth. But again, just in my lifetime, the understanding of how planets form, the fact that we can use advanced software and model planets forming, the fact that we can look at other solar systems and go, this is probably how their planets form. Yeah, the moon was just a chunk of the Earth that got knocked out. Something slammed into the early Earth, and a big globule of molten Earth material got knocked out and turned into the moon. But what other material it absorbed, what other things got slammed into it? I can tell you they recently found that there is enough water on the moon just in the regolith, just in those top few, as Jazz would say, meters, because he's with the metric system today. But in those top few meters of regolith, of dirt and rock on the moon, there's enough water on there to support settlements for thousands of years. And you just need to extract the water out of there. We didn't know there was water on the moon. We knew there was maybe these little ice caps or whatever, but it's trapped right in the regolith.
Well, clearly, again, he's going to be fired tomorrow because, the moon is an alien satellite. But
someone did ask on Twitter the other day. Yeah, someone did ask on Twitter the other day what would happen if the moon disappeared. And I think my answer was the price of cheese would skyrocket.
Oh, we'd be screwed.
That's
We
right.
would be screwed.
Price of cheese would skyrocket.
No, it
Okay,
would.
I have to let you go on that joke. Like, on that, I think like that old timey cane comes out from stage right and drags.
Yeah, right.
off.
We need the guy
Thank you
from
very
the
much, Chris.
Showtime at the
Thank
Apollo
you
to
for
sweep
everything
me
you do
off.
at the debrief, by the way. Thank you very much, because I used to have to write about some science stuff before you came on, and now I'm free to just write about UFOs. So
Well,
I
starting
really
tomorrow,
appreciate your work.
you might have to start writing science again.
Yeah, well, after he's fired, yeah.
We had a big shift at the debrief at the beginning of the year that has dramatically improved the quality of content and the volume of content coming out. So anybody who goes there will see we got 3, 4, 5, 6 stories a day now, as opposed to 1 or 2. We've got a nice range of writers. And yeah, some of our like go-to people, like Jazz is writing regularly. Avi Loeb is contributing 1 or 2 articles every month now. Chris Mellon is offering to contribute more stuff, and we have other writers coming on too. So yeah,
Stay tuned to the
ever since
debrief,
Micah
folks.
Hanks kind of took the reins of the editorial side and put his full thrust of his energy and spirit into this thing, we're really taking off. Yeah,
I'm excited for you guys.
great.
I'm excited to see what comes next.
Good stuff.
I'm excited to
Get
see
me outta
about this
here. I'll be in
video.
the background.
All right, Jazz, thank you for coming by, my good friend. We'll see you
Thank
soon.
you for everything you do, Luis.
It's our pleasure, man. We do it because we love it. So it's no thing for us. So, but thank you, Jazz. You're the man. We'd love to hear.
Yep. Echo that here. Love me some Jazz.
100%.
Christopher Plain, before you get out of here, please tell everyone where they can find your writings and musings and jokes. And
so go to the debrief.org every day as your morning habit. Check out the new science, technology, UFO, that sort of stuff every day. I have stuff I put anywhere from 6 to 10 articles a week. So you'll always see stuff from me up there. If you want to follow me personally, I tell everyone, just go to Twitter. It's the easiest, @plain_fiction. That's plain fiction with a little underscore in the middle. And that's it. I don't really involve myself on other social media except for LinkedIn. And unless I do business with you directly, I'm probably not going to accept your LinkedIn invites.
And we've also got Chris Plain's Twitter link in the description below. So if you just want to go click it, you can do that. Well, Christopher Plain, as always, it's been an absolute pleasure. We didn't even get to the AIAA conference, but I have a feeling we'll bring you back before it comes.
And I didn't get to tell my Will Smith comedy story that I wanted to tell. So.
Do you want to tell it real quick?
Oh, all right. I'll give you the quick version. So this has nothing to do with Will Smith, but Squid asked me in the green room as a stand-up comic, and I performed stand-up for an entire decade as my primary living from 1991 to 2000 or so. And so I did hundreds of shows, a couple hundred shows every year. I did a show in San Diego at a comedy club called Smokies, and it was owned by an ex-football coach named Smokey Gaines from San Diego State. And it was notorious for being an all-black club at the time. So I come in there, and my father came with me, and my father looks like I do, right? So we're sitting in the front row of a theater that has about 300 people in it, like a huge club. And the host is this woman, Simply Marvelous. She's a very successful comic, been around for decades. She recently passed, but she was on stage, and she starts in on me and my father. She starts in on, what do we got here? Look at these 2 fat white guys in the front row, right? And she's saying it's Papa Orca and little baby Shamu. So throughout the night, she's referring to me as baby Shamu, right? So I get up to the stage and I start my act, and it's going, I'm killing. I'm doing really well. I'm having a good night. Much to my surprise, I was warned you're going to get booed off the stage. The white comics usually do.
Yeah.
So I'm really have this. Now, this is in the early 90s, in the early days of cell phones. The stage is elevated about 5 feet. Right at the front of the stage is a very large woman on an early era cell phone talking during my act. Now, Luis, you've been on stage. Yeah. I don't know if you've ever been on stage doing comedy when somebody is talking on a cell phone. Yes. It's all you can hear. It's all the whole room can hear is that person talking. So I walk to now she's not even looking at me, right? She's fully into her call. So I get right to the edge of the stage. So I'm standing right above her, and I just start doing her. I just start going, oh, yeah, I'm sitting at the comedy club. No, this guy's on the stage. He ain't funny. He's Fat Baby Shamu, whatever. And I'm just doing. And she slowly, at some point, looks up and because the audience is dying, right?
Yeah.
And she realizes I'm clowning her horribly.
Yeah.
She gets up and starts coming like around to the steps, Will Smith style, to come up to the stage. And I see, and she's got her phone in her hand, and I take off. And as I leave, the host Simply Marvelous grabs the microphone from me, and all you hear is I'm running off the stage, her going, "Run, baby Shamu, run!"
Dude,
I'm glad you survived that, Chris.
glad you survived. Yeah, I'm glad you didn't have a
and I've been married to that woman ever since. No, not
happily
really.
married. I love it.
Thanks,
Christopher
guys,
Play,
for
man.
having me on.
Absolute
Stuff's
pleasure.
coming, audience. I promise. I'm sorry I didn't get the video out. I promised at the end of March. Stuff is coming. Stuff is coming. Stay.
Hey, we'll
keep the faith.
Hold you to it.
We'll have, just please don't release it in the next 3 weeks, and we'll have you back. We'll talk about it.
I have no control.
All right, Mr. Play. We'll see you soon.
Squid, Luis, thank you, guys.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Of course. See ya.
All right, you guys. That was Christopher Plain, head science writer over at Debrief. Always a fun
Can't get enough of
conversation.
him. Yeah.
I really can't, man. Like, if we'd have a couple other things to just wrap up before we get out of here for the next 2 or 3 weeks, I would say I would have kept him on for the whole show because, yeah, I wanted to pick his brain about the AIAA conference coming up.
Well, yeah, and he's had a lot of really interesting science articles that I wanted to ask about. Didn't even get to.
Yeah. Well, I know. And Ted Rowe also had teased about some really killer guests coming up at that conference. So if there's anyone who might spill the beans on those guests, it would have been Christopher Plain. But we'll get him in trouble on another day. We'll save that for when we come back. But yeah, I guess let's get into the break, right? People want to know why we're taking a break. It's been 2 years. I rather took a Christmas break in December. I gave the whole team 2 weeks off in December. And yeah, man, look, we do 3 shows a week. I book 3 guests a week. That's 16 guests a month, which is, what's that times 12 rather? It's 192 guests a year. And we did that for a full year. So yeah, man, it's a lot. It's a lot. So, we're trying to figure out ways of how to make the show better and more interesting and be able to talk about other things. And how do we do that?
And do it sustainably.
Also, I didn't want to burn out Jane. I mean, especially you, rather. You've been here for 3 times a week the last year, and you do it for free, and you do it voluntarily, and you do it with a real big smile on your face. And I can't thank you enough. But I know, and this is not the reason Michael left, but I know Michael was feeling it too toward the end there. He's, especially when he's concentrating on most of his efforts on building a business from scratch.
And he has a family.
A family on top of that with 3 children. 3 YouTube shows a week to take you away from those things for 6 hours a week. That's a huge commitment. It's a huge commitment. So to prevent that happening with me, to prevent that happening with Rather and Jane, or anyone else that we decide to bring on board in the near future, I think it's best to just go down to once a week. Once a week, we can concentrate on booking some really great guests and repeat guests that come back. And then we could also concentrate. We're going to be knocking down the interviews from 2 hours to 1 hour, like we've been doing here in the last week or two. We're kind of been dry running things, but we're also going to have segments like UFO video of the day. We're going to have something called maybe Rather's Rant. Once a month, we're going to be having Peter Robbins breaking down, doing essentially a Peter Robbins book report on the 4 billion books that he's got in the back there. We're going to be doing just coming up with different ideas, things I want to edit and talk about, videos that we want to make. And I want to free up the time for just me personally. Like ever since I've been in this chair, a lot of my time outside of booking guests is consuming content and reading things. And so because I'm trying to feed a show 3 times a week, all of the things that I used to do, like I was playing golf 4 days a week. I haven't played golf in 2 or 3 months. I've gained a whole bunch of weight sitting in this chair in the last 2 years. Like I gotta go exercise. I gotta get healthier, you know, and the only way to do that is to cut the show down to 1 day a week. And I think it's also good for my mental health as well, because I mean, this year, you know, we're not doing anything with any intentions. We're exploring this topic as best we can and asking the questions that we want answers to. And that's gotten us into a lot of trouble. It's gotten us a lot of headaches. And it's funny because I was thinking about this the other day, you know, how many great researchers the extreme parts of this community has literally ran off. And I was thinking of Alejandro Rojas. They almost did it to Kurt Jaimungal when he did his Linda Moulton Howe interview. They almost ran him off. There are, you know, Stephen Greenstreet. He was a hero 2 years ago. Now he's a pariah. You know, and I just don't. I don't want that to happen to this show. You know, I want to be here and have fun with it, and you know, and just allow myself to go back to a normal life. Like I'm doing more improv shows here in the last 2 months. I've probably done 8 or 9 improv shows. So getting out in front of a stage or on a stage in front of people has been incredible. So the theaters are opening up again. So I'm able to go back and do what I really love to do. The reason why I moved out to Los Angeles. I don't live out here because the weather's great. It sucks. I'm away from my family. If I had a choice, I would not be here or not be in Los Angeles. I'd be a lot closer to everyone that I love and consider important in my life. And, you know, so again, going down to 1 show a week allows me to go back to my other passions, my other loves, and get my mental and physical health in order, because it's been rough, man. It's been absolutely rough. You know, we put a lot of effort into this. We put a lot of man hours. We put a lot of thought into how we construct things, into the events we do, like the Big Phone Home. You know, all of this stuff takes a ton of time and effort. And we don't do it for the super chats. We don't do it for the Patreons. We don't do it for the subscribers. We do it because we think it's important and it's something fun that we enjoy doing. And to ensure that, you know, we stick with passion. I think everybody, you know, everybody on this team deserves an opportunity to have a life outside of this topic. And so that's the whole point of it. You know, but what were you going to say, Brad? I'm sorry.
You need to unplug every once in a while. If you stay tuned into this topic, you can get into the tribal nonsense and the back and forth. And you need to.
No, I mean, well, we've found ourselves in that tribal mess. You know, I know I have. You know, and working my way out of it. It's hard. It's hard, man. It's hard because, you know, in the last year here, I've made a ton of friends, and I've also lost a ton of friends who I thought were friends. You know, who I thought we're on the same page as far as what we're trying to do, which is just bring clarity and a little bit of truth to this discussion. You know, so yeah, I mean, that's sort of the whole, you know, the idea. But with that said, you know, there's going to be breaking news. There's going to be things like The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch, which we want to review, but we also don't want to use our 1 show a week to review that show. So we'll do that separately. So, you know, when I say we'll go down to 1 day a week, there will be other things sprinkled in throughout the week, depending on what's happening. And when we get to Skinwalker Ranch season, I mean, I don't know how many episodes it is this time, but it'll be anywhere between 8-10 episodes, I'm thinking, or 8 and 12.
Yeah, it's coming
And
out
so
in
that
May,
means,
right?
yeah, and that's coming out in May. So I mean, basically right when we come back, we'll be doing shows a week essentially for a month and a half, and then we'll go back to our regular schedule. But yeah, we're gonna be picking a night. I think it's gonna be Thursday night that we're gonna go with, so Jane can be part of the show. Jane's not available to do Friday evening or Friday afternoons, and I think Thursday night, a little bit later, I think we'll get a little bit bigger crowds because people won't be working and things like that. So I think we're going to do the Thursday night schedule that KGRA has offered us. So we'll be moving probably to Thursday nights. Excuse me, I got a little gassy there. I'm going to be planning and finalizing a date for the Big Phone Home and getting guests for the Big Phone Home in these next 3 weeks. We're going to be I'm going to be booking guests for the next few months, and in the next 3 weeks, I'm going to be doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes to add more content and also create more opportunities for us to just do other things, to add to the thing about my show is it's funny. A lot of people have copied the format of this show. They straight up even one channel has straight up stole my opening, which is fine. I don't care. It's not bothersome, but I see a lot of sort of copycat channels. And so let's switch it up. Let's do something different. I don't want to be stagnant. If you know anything about this show, from the second I've started it, it has had huge iterations in what it is and how the show's formatted. And, we never even did interviews, in the first year. So, so we love growth. We love change. We like challenge. At least I like challenging myself to always be improving, always be doing something different. So yeah, this is a great suggestion. J. Allen Heineken. God, I know I've said it before, but damn it, I love that name. A UCR travel log. We've got Rather's going to be going to the SCU conference. So hopefully we'll be able to do stuff like that, and again, the channel has to grow for us to do things like this because, even though Rather has a very steady day job, I'd like to pay these tickets to him to at least attend these events, at least send one of us to some of these bigger conferences, especially now that they're happening in person. Those are things we want to do, and that we're able to do that because you guys give super chats, because you guys are Patreon members, because you guys are YouTube members. Like all of those, every penny counts and stuff like that. And improving the show, getting better microphones, getting better cameras, better computers, all of that stuff is part of the way you guys help us, and we're able to do that because of you guys. So I can't thank you enough. But to answer this question of a travel log, this going down to 1 day a week means we'll be able to do more TikToks. We'll be able to do, I'm going to be making a clips version of this channel, or I'll be doing a clips playlist on this channel, one or the other. I'm not sure which one. But we're going to be clipping the best moments from the show. I'll have more time to edit things. It's going to free up a ton of time. Knowing that I don't
Quality
have to
over
be here.
quantity.
Quality over quantity. That's the plan. Not to say that our quality is bad. I think we still do a killer show.
Oh yeah.
Things
can always get better.
I think things can always get better. We always can improve. Always. We're always working on our craft, and the show is our craft. So, we're going to have fun. That's the whole idea of, especially the second hour. Like we're going to use that as a way to experiment and try other things and have different kinds of conversations, and also review, big conversations maybe that we just had, like we did with Lou when he left after the first hour. So, I think the show is going to get better because of that. And just, I think in the last 2 weeks, holy cow, we're almost at 10,000 subscribers. We were at 9,000 at the beginning of this month, or last month. And, or not even, we were like second week, I think we hit 9,000 subscribers, and we're only, I think, 200 away from 10K, which is that's a big milestone for a channel. I think it really is. And the amount of growth this show has had. I think you guys are liking what we're doing. I think we're finally hitting a stride here where I think both you and I rather are incredibly proud of what we're doing. It because
For
we were
sure.
scared to do it. We were scared to do it because of certain reasons, and now that fear is gone. It's absolutely gone. I'm not afraid anymore to probe and ask questions of any guest, no matter who they are. I'm not gonna.
Yeah,
I'm
you
not gonna
shouldn't be afraid
feel,
of the truth or trying to find the truth,
especially
right?
on my own show. Like like I shouldn't. I don't want to feel like I'm walking on eggshells around anybody anymore. And the guests that make me feel that the least are the guests that we're gonna keep bringing back, like John Greenwald, like Mick West, like Christopher Plain, like Jazz Shaw, like Peter Robbins. These folks do not mind when we question their belief systems in some cases. Like they don't care when that happens. They don't consider it rude or inappropriate. They welcome it. They encourage it, truly encourage it. They don't just say it, they actually do it. And that's the biggest difference. And those are the conversations that I'm going to be seeking out. And yeah, so I mean that's basically what we're doing, you know. Um
That's exciting. I hope that you actually do get a chance to unplug over these next 3 weeks and unwind a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, again, if a huge news story breaks, I think,
Yeah.
well, I know
The one
myself. I know
one
I'm
time
gonna
in
be
my life
like,
where I hope there isn't UFO news.
I hope there isn't either. I don't want to talk about this for a couple of weeks. I really want to get away from it for a little bit. Because it's been 2 straight years, and when I first started the channel, I told myself I was going to give myself a 5-year window to make this channel work. 5 years. Because I wanted to be realistic. And it's taken me 2 to really sort of to not accomplish every goal, but get a lot of those goals that I had.
It's working. Yeah.
It's working. It's working. I think our channel's growing faster than any other channel out there on YouTube anyway. I know this show's not really catered for podcasts, but that's hopefully what the new format that we're going to be doing. We'll be able to do it live and also present it as a podcast. And I think it'll be a little easier to follow along as an audio listener. So hopefully the podcast grows even more, and the podcast grows at an amazing rate. But yeah, I mean, there's no other channels out there growing as fast as we do. Like our Lou Elizondo video it's a popular video. It's popular than a lot of other interviews that have happened in the last month. And I'm proud of that. And I think the reason why people are checking it out, and sharing it and talking about it is because we're asking good questions. We're having good moments. Even when they're awkward, there's still moments that people want to see, and that's that's what we're trying to do, man. Yes, the show will definitely still be 2 hours. It'll technically actually be 3 because after every show we'll be also doing a live Discord for at least an hour after every show. And honestly, I usually end up staying there for a lot longer than an hour. But today I'm putting a limit on it. I want to get to my vacation today. So but Dog Face Boy, new member, thank you so much for joining. I remember the Dog Face Boy in the National Enquirer. I'm trying to look at. Okay.
Well, the dog men are a big part of the Skinwalker Rancho phenomena. I wonder if he's one of their offspring.
Well, I take you under my wing, Dog Face Boy, as our our offspring of Skinwalker Ranch werewolf dino beavers. Thank you so much for becoming a member. I truly appreciate it. And yeah, if you guys want to become a member, there's also little you can unlock different icons the longer you're a member. And this one is the ultimate, the Dolphin Emperor icon. If you're, I think, a member for a year, maybe 2, I don't know how long I put on it, you get this. You can use this icon in the chat. So if you want to become a member, it's a great way to get just little icons, worthless icons that mean nothing monetarily speaking. So yeah, I mean, I guess that's kind of everything as far as the show changes that are coming and why we're taking a break. And I'm sure, and just to be clear, we're not taking a break because we've been bullied or we ran out of guests.
This was planned before that.
This was planned way before that. Like, we've been talking about this for at least 2 months. And so, yeah, this is something that I knew I needed to put in the calendar and force myself to do. And yeah, so don't dance on our graves just yet, UFO Twitter, because whether you like it or not, we're coming back like the undead. We will be breaking through those graves and eating live brains to feast on and spread the message of our channel. Our channel is, I guess, a virus, is what I'm saying.
All of humanity might be. Who knows?
Yeah, this is true. Did you get to see the Salvatore Pais interview yet with Kurt Mongol?
I didn't watch the entire bit of it, but I watched all the. He has a great timeline, and I clicked around to some very interesting questions. I
haven't, man. I've been working all week.
I know that Ross Shue here is eager for.
He's been asking about it, and that's why I'm asking, because I've seen it a couple times in the chat here. What do you think?
I mean, prior to seeing him on the interview, I was very kind of skeptical of him. I thought that he might be a kind of a weird government crackpot type, but man, I was very impressed by him. He was very well spoken. He said, he didn't make crazy claims. Everything he said seemed to be very sounded in science. And I was very, very impressed. I'm going to have to go back and rewatch the entire interview, but yeah, that's interesting stuff. I think the takeaways from me was that, the science sounds legit. There was these rumors that the craft had already been created, that these patent officers had seen a real craft, and that's why they passed the patents. He threw a lot of cold water on that, saying that a craft hasn't been created, and that it's going to take a lot of money and engineering to actually achieve these principles. Right. But yeah, it was very interesting. Another thing that he said was that there's some critical info left out of the patents, which was, when you read the patents, it's patents are supposed to give you the step-by-step of how to actually create the thing, right?
Right.
And those patents didn't. Yeah, and it was kind of questionable what the actual science, how that fit together. But his answers and his explanations for that stuff made a lot of sense.
So was it just basically theoretical patents then?
Yeah, essentially, it's kind of the theoretics for how you might achieve this. He said that there's, he knows how to do it. He said that, he's not going to let loose those secrets. So, I'm not sure how far along the line of actual prototypes or, tech demos, proof of concepts that they have. It sounds like they might have some.
But I thought he said that there was no actual physical anything built or constructed.
Well, no craft, right? But maybe there might
proof
be some experiments that they've run to show that some of this might be possible. Yeah. He seemed convinced that it was possible, and
here's the thing that I've noticed about this interview. It didn't excite the UFO community, and I think that's the two reasons you gave me there are very much why. Because it wasn't sexy enough. He didn't say anything about having a craft. He put a very realistic limitation and expectation on what these things are. And it's just funny, man. It's just funny how they when it fits their narrative, quick to share it, quick to love it, quick to talk it up. But when it doesn't excite them in the way that doesn't meet their expectations, it's crickets. Like, how come nobody was sharing that interview? I didn't see it shared a whole lot. I only saw it shared, I think, by that UFO podcast. And the only reason why I haven't shared is because I just haven't watched it yet. I know it's good, but I just haven't watched it.
Well, I mean, it is a very long interview, and it's full of, theoretical quantum physics and stuff, which I think, over my head, probably over most people's heads, right? But it is a fascinating interview. There are some great nuggets in there. I don't think I even caught them all. I definitely need to go and rewatch it all.
Well, Kurt's the perfect guy to ask those questions, though. That's what makes this channel so good. Because it doesn't go over his head. He's very much understands everything that's being said.
He plays so coy too, saying that, oh, you know, make believing like he doesn't, you know, doesn't totally comprehend stuff. He kind of plays devil advocate in a very interesting, effective way.
Yeah. I'm gonna talk to him. We got to get him on the show. He agreed to come on the show, and I told him that I'd send him some dates after our break. So he's definitely open to it. So we'll get him on the show because I think we could pick his brain in a fun way. Because he's a very, I've only spoken to him once, and that was on Mike's channel. Just like you could see every time he is formulating a response, he really gives it a lot of thought before anything comes out of his mouth. And I'm like, man, I wish I had that patience with myself. Yeah. You know, like, I mean, yeah, that would be, especially like in an, you know, an improv comedy setting. It would like, that would, I just freak out when I hear silence for that long. I'm just like, I gotta fill the dead space, or the dead air. Let's see here. Bill's saying something here. We got 5 minutes left, rather. And by the way, thanks to Bill.
Yeah, Bill's great. Got it.
Bill's great.
Thank
Bill's
you,
our
Bill,
producer behind the scenes. Bill, you want to show your face to everybody real quick? Let's see if his camera pops on. We'll say goodbye to Bill for the next couple weeks here.
And it's is it Bill's birthday today? Is that right?
It is Bill's birthday. Look at him. There's
Happy
Bill.
birthday, Bill.
Happy birthday, Bill.
Thank you. April Fool's Day. What a better day.
Yeah, that's an interesting birthday. Yeah, man.
That did it as a kid. Did you get a lot of crap on that? Like, it's not your birthday today. Nobody believed you.
It could be worse than that. Mom, when the doctor said April Fool.
It's a girl.
Right. Whoa. Yeah. Anyway, guys, well-deserved break coming up for you both. Looking forward to the show coming back. And yes, Thursdays.
What time are we on Thursdays, Bill?
We need to have a little discussion on that.
Yeah, right. There was a time that you gave me, but
I said 6 to 8.
6 to 8, yeah.
Eastern. What time zone?
Eastern. So that'd be 3 to 5
Australia
West Coast.
time.
3 to 5 West Coast, which I think is a good little pocket. But what, do you have other slots there you're thinking of, Bill?
Yeah, we'll have that. I'm not gonna even talk to you for like a week.
Yeah, okay.
Because this way you guys can, relax a little bit.
Yeah,
take that break. Enjoy that break.
Yeah, no, we're gonna. Okay, cool. Well, maybe it won't be Thursdays. Maybe we'll figure out another day.
Oh, it might be. It's gonna be Thursdays.
Okay, all right, cool.
Thursdays. Thursdays are good.
I like Thursday. I think Thursday's a good day. Thursday's
well,
a
guys,
good day.
have a great few weeks off.
We will. But we
And
appreciate all your help, Bill.
And of course, to all the listeners that support this show.
Thank you.
Indeed.
Thank you to KGRA. Thanks. Thank you to Bill. It's been a real cool year so far. I don't know. When did we start with KGRA, Bill? Was it December?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It's been almost 6 months.
Almost 6 months. It's been fun.
Yeah.
I got no complaints.
Many, many more.
And definitely.
Indeed.
Well, Bill, enjoy your birthday. Enjoy the rest of the night. Enjoy the weekend. You're a beautiful man. Guys. We'll talk to you soon.
Great one. All right.
How much time do I got, Bill?
You got 2 minutes.
2 minutes. All right. Let's do this. All right, you guys. We're gonna be hanging out on Discord again. I think the Discord will. I'm only staying for an hour tonight. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I only stay for about an hour or two, but we'll make it count.
Be there. We will be there, and you guys can come talk to us, interact with us, ask us any questions you want. Come yell at us if you like. Come share your opinions and tell us we're wrong for whatever we're thinking, or make us think in a different direction. Challenge our belief systems, if you like, so to speak. Before we get out of here, I want to say thank you to DOS Tapes. They provide all of the you hear on the show. Hopefully, by the time we come back, we'll have some new tunes from them for you guys. Their Bandcamp link is in the description below. I want to say thank you to all of the Patreon members, the super chats that we had today. Unbelievable, you guys. Thank you so much. You guys always come so damn strong in moments like this. Just little milestones for the show. Aaron Desario, Gerald, Justin, Matthew Riot, Jazz Shaw, Ryan Spray, Christina Gomez, and everyone else in the chat, G West, Paisley Wave, you guys, unbelievable. Thank you so much. And everyone in the chat, my moderators, Tina Tomaszewski, Aaron Desario, thank you guys so much for helping us keep the chat fun and clean. Want to say thank you to KGRA, again, Bill, everybody there for broadcasting our show every Fridays, which will be moving to Thursdays. We'll give you a schedule and everything that's happening, so don't sweat it. Just make sure you like, share, subscribe, ring the bell on this channel so that way you don't miss any breaking news or schedule changes in the next 3 weeks. Don't forget, podcasts, iTunes, Spotify. Leave us a rate and review. The show will be available about an hour after the show. This show is done airing. And again, everything here is free. There's no paywalls. No paywalls here at the Unidentified Celebrity Review. All of our content is free, including our Discord. So coming out with us, links are in the description. Check out the merch store. Have a wonderful 3 weeks off. Don't kill anybody. I can't wait to come back and see you guys again. It's going to be an awesome start to end of April, early May. And yeah, we're looking forward to it. Until next time, you guys, thank you so much for coming aboard, getting weird with us here on another episode of the Unidentified Celebrity Review, your home for credible news, reviews, and commentary on everything UAP and UFO. Until 3 weeks from now, my name's Luis Jimenez. That's Rather Be Swing. Stay safe out there, you guys. Love you all very, very much. We'll see you soon. Peace.
News 12 Sports with Pat Murphy.
Great news regarding Bills tight end Kevin Everett. He moved his arms and legs today. And doctors now believe that's the wrong video, by the way. That is not.
I'm going to tell y'all right now, all of these wonderful people would not be here without Patreon supporters like you. If you enjoy credible news, reviews, and commentary on UFOs and UAPs 5 days a week, you want to support this show. What's your name? Marty. Marty, look how easy this is, Marty. Pick up your phone. Boom! You're a Patreon member. I mean, look, it's so easy. You just click the link, which is right here. Just for $1 a month, you can support this show. Just fill out the information and pledge what's comfortable for you. It could be $1, $5, $10, or who knows. Just support.
People around here been dropping like flies already, and where's that getting us, huh? Nowhere. Fast. You know what old Jack Burton always says at a time like this? Who? Jack Burton. Me.
I believe you're enjoying all this. Indeed, Captain. I've never seen him look so happy.
Shut up.
Well, what do you know? I finally got the last word.